Hey guys, it's Cameron Rhodes here. Just wanted to thank everybody for listening to the Guided Trip Fly Fishing Podcast. This episode is on traveling and fly tying. Hope it gives you a couple hints, tricks, tips, something to help you out just a tad. But thanks everybody again for listening. You can find the Guided Trip at gmail.com. You can email us, Instagram at the Guided Trip, or go to our website, www.theguidedtrip.com. There's some new blog posts up there as well, so go ahead and give us a follow and check everything out. Thanks, guys. Hope you enjoy the episode.
The Guided Trip.
The church that I go to is the river. I go there to wash everything away.
I wish you were there drinking rum, crying your little eyes out. This fly that my Uncle Jimmy and my grandpa perfected, they found the materials to tie it in the back of a taxi down in Andros. They just tell you to bring gotchas. Don't bring anything else.
When I was out there on the water with people, I can feel the energy of other people, and I care about it.
I think that's one of the most crucial parts of fly fishing that often gets overlooked.
You know, we're jet lagged, lack of sleep, we're half drunk. Holding on to your nuts with one hand, you're holding on to the boat with the other hand.
Shitting in tall cotton, dude.
Man, this is what's going on in the world right now. You know, you're on a boat fishing down a beautiful river.
Be deliberate with everything that you do with fly fishing.
Yeah. Well, what do you do on your days off? I'm on this boat. I'm rowing people down the river trying to figure out what's fishing. But I love it. I wouldn't change it for anything.
I wouldn't trade it, man. It's awesome.
All right, everybody, we're back with another episode of the Guided Trip Fly Fishing Podcast, coming at you from the hill country of Fredericksburg, Texas. Just kind of hanging out right now, working down here, not guiding, but doing some work and trying to get out fishing as much as possible. But I was doing some tying the other night and decided it'd be a good idea to do a podcast about traveling and bringing your fly tying gear along with you. It's tough to do that, and so I decided I'd go over some tips and some tricks that I use and just the way I do it. I'm also outside on a patio right now, so there might be a little bit of background noise. Hopefully that's not too bothersome. Just bear with me a little bit. So I'm not a commercial fly tyer. I don't travel and tie flies. I'm not constantly going to shows and, setting up a booth and tying flies. I'm not that type of traveling fly tyer. Basically, this is going to be catered to, the person who might be going on a fishing trip and want to tie some flies while they're there. Maybe they don't have the right flies and want to, whip some up real quick. Or one's working real well and they need a couple more of those. Or like I am right now, I'm on an extended stay, and so I brought all my fly tying gear with me. Well, not all of it, but a lot of it. Or maybe you're just going to a tie night at a local fly shop or a brewery or a buddy's house or whatever. We do that occasionally where we'll just go over to our buddies' houses and tie. And so we're going to cater this to that person who is just, the guy, the average Joe just going around tying flies and wanting to tie more. So as we think about it here, it's not an easy task to get all the gear you need to tie flies if you're traveling or going somewhere with all your gear. So what's the easiest way to do that? There's not a great way to do it. This is the way I do it, and it seems to work for me, but it's a daunting task to sit there and go, oh, I need to get my vise, I need to get all my tools, can't forget my glue or my UV or whatever you need, and put it all into one thing and take it with you, especially all your materials, and just, for a night of tying. So you got to think about, what flies you're going to tie and what materials you need, what tools you're going to need for that. There's a easy way to, organize all your tools. And I think I've talked about it before on a previous podcast, but I use a Renzetti tool caddy, pretty cheap if you look them up, and it's a great thing to have on your fly tying table, or if you're traveling and fly tying, you can put all your tools in there. It's easy to grab and go, and you can put it in a bag, and it's pretty easy to take with you. So I would definitely look into investing in one of those Renzetti tool caddies. They're amazing. So let's talk about, I guess, how we're going to transport this gear first before we get into everything else. But if we're going to transport our gear, we need something to put it in. I've seen grocery bags, I've seen paper bags, I've seen boxes, all kinds of stuff. And, for a while there, I've used just like a little, zip bag, just like canvas zip bag or something, and put everything in there, which definitely works fine. But as you start to accumulate more gear or want to tie different flies, or like I said, like me on an extended stay, you're going to need more materials and more gear. So, a couple years ago for Christmas, I received a Cabela's tackle bag with those like Plano plastic boxes in there. They're Cabela's brand boxes, but they're customizable. I've talked about this on a previous podcast before, I believe, but it was a great gift because I went, perfect. I'm going to dedicate this, to a travel fly tying kit. Basically, I can throw all my gear in there and travel with it and break it all out when I need to, and it's pretty easy. So I looked up this bag since I got it for Christmas. I didn't know the cost of it, but I looked it up online, and it runs about $90. So that includes all the boxes, everything, and that's still not cheap, for a fishing bum or somebody on a budget. But there are options out there. There's easier ways to do it. I'm sure thrift stores or anything like that, or like a Play It Again sports store, something like that would have, a fishing bag. And you could just accumulate boxes for pretty cheap at different like Walmart or fishing stores, whatever. You can find some cheap boxes. But basically what I did with these boxes, so that's what I use for a travel bag. And there's options out there. Fishing companies sell different fly tying specific bags. And they're about the same. Some of them are a little bit more expensive, but it's about the same idea. You can put all your stuff in there. There's different pockets, and you can store it all. But you're buying the brand and the name, and that's why they get a little bit more expensive. And like I said, luckily I received this one for Christmas, so I didn't have to think about it too much. Okay, so we got our bag. What I do is I had all these boxes. I think it comes with about 10 boxes, maybe a little bit more, maybe a dozen boxes. And they're pretty big, it's a large boxes. So you can take out the little plastic tabs and customize it however you want. And again, I've talked about this on a podcast before, I believe, but we'll go over it one more time here. What I did is I created different boxes for different patterns. And so I can take all my materials for those patterns and put it in one box. I can put my thread in there, my wire, my lead wire, anything I'm tying with is going to go in that box. So I'm going to have dedicated boxes for all of my materials for certain patterns. And that's the easiest way to kind of break that down first. If you're going to go tie somewhere, you can grab one of these boxes and go, yep, I'm going to tie stoneflies today. And I have my stonefly box with all my materials for all the stoneflies I could ever think of tying. Beads, hooks, everything in there. Thread. That way all I have to do is open up the box and I'm ready to go. I have all my materials right there. That's an easy way to organize it for me, at least, especially if I'm traveling. I do that at home as well, for certain patterns. If I tie a lot of them, I'll just go, cool, I can just grab this box. Everything I need is in here. Make it easy, right? It's all about making your life easier. So depending on how long your trip or your stay or whatever is how I'm going to organize my bag and what I'm going to grab. If I'm going for a day trip, I might minimize my bag a little bit and try to find a smaller bag to put a box in and my vise and tools. But for me, going on this trip down to Texas, I'm here for a couple months, and so I figured I'd try and load up my bag with as much as possible so I can tie flies for the upcoming season or tie flies for down here, whatever. So that's really going to depend on how you organize and what all you put in there. The bag I have right now with me here in Texas, I think I put 5 boxes in there of all different types, but I'm going to have, I have a redfish and salt box. So basically all my materials for redfish and salt. And then I actually have a worm box because I'm going to tie some worms for upcoming guide season in Colorado. I have a hopper and a dry fly box, caddis, stimulator, stuff like that. All of the same materials are going to kind of go into that box. My stonefly box, I also have pheasant tails in there because a lot of the same stuff, wire and hooks and different things. So stonefly kind of pheasant tail / box, and then I have a mayfly dry fly box. Drakes, Adams, BWOs, whatever, everything for those. So this is basically catered to all the patterns that I tie the most of. So I brought all this stuff with me in those boxes. I can fit 5 boxes in there, as well as my Renzetti tool caddy and my vise. And then I have just a couple little bins full of random foam, or I have a trash bin that I, put all my discard in there and save it just in case there's something I need out of there, just some scraps or whatever. So I can fit all that into that nice Cabela's bag, which is great. That helps out a lot. Where am I at here? Oh, so if I'm going on a day trip, or let's say like a couple day trip, I might just grab 1 box or 2 boxes for what I think I'm going to need. If I'm going trout fishing, or I'm going to do some research before I go trout fishing, kind of see what they're hitting on and see if there's a certain pattern I need to have with me. And of course, you never know exactly what these fish are going to be eating, but you try and cover your bases as much as possible. If you know it's mayfly nymphs, then you're going to bring a mayfly nymph box, and you're going to have a lot of different materials for those nymphs. If you're going to the salt, depending on what species you're going for, you're going to have a bunch of different materials for all your saltwater stuff, or all your redfish stuff, or all your bonefish stuff, whatever. You kind of get the idea. But that's how I load up my tying bag. So if you're going for a couple days, you might just throw a couple boxes in there. If you're going for an extended stay like I am, I brought 5 or 6 boxes. If you're going over to a buddy's house, that's a little bit easier. You can kind of just, bring 1 box of things you want to tie. All right, I'm going to tie hoppers and caddis and stimmies tonight. I got 1 box, my vise, my tool caddy. Pretty easy way to go about it. Where am I at? Again, and I can keep in that travel bag as well. There's a flap, like a see-through flap on the inside, where you unzip and it opens up. And I put, larger feathers in there. I'll have hen hackle and, my pheasant tails and just larger feathers in there. It's a little bit easier. I keep a ruler in there too, for cutting straight lines on foam, or measuring foam, or measuring bodies, whatever. I'll keep a ruler in there. Lots of outside pockets on this bag as well. I can put UV, or like UV lights, or pliers, or monofilament for certain things. If I'm making shrimp eyes or whatever I'm doing, I can pretty much load that up, and it's a really easy way to do it. So basically, if I go to sit down to tie, all I got to do, take my bag, go, all right, I'm tying some redfish flies tonight, grab my redfish box, grab my vise, tools, boom, I'm at it. Real simple design. I know it's not, I might be making it a little bit more complicated than it really is, but this is the way I do it. It's pretty easy going, and you can travel with all that stuff. So, if you're looking for an inexpensive route, you can definitely find it. If you got a little money to spend, I would look into, buying a bag with these boxes so you can organize a little bit better. It's pretty easy. And like I said, I got it for Christmas, so I didn't have to think about it too much. But it's a great tool to have, and it's a great way to travel with all your materials. A commercial tyer might tell you something different. I'm sure they have different ideas in how they do it. They have tons of gear that they're bringing. And so I don't know that aspect of it. It'd be interesting to talk to somebody who's a commercial tyer and learn that aspect, how they travel with all their stuff. But as for now, this is how I do it. Pretty simple setup. Not a long podcast here, but I wanted to go over that just a tad. I thought it was a good topic for this. But I'll post some pictures on the website as well, maybe on Instagram, of my bag and kind of how it looks in my boxes. And that way you can get a better idea and then go from there. Add your own flair into it, do what you need to do. But like I said, this is the way I do it. Might not be the right way, but it's the way that works for me. And yeah, if you guys have any other ideas or suggestions that you guys use, don't hesitate to email us, theguidedtrip@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram, The Guided Trip. And yeah, check us out. And thanks guys for listening. Hopefully there'll be some more podcasts in the future. So thank you.